Welcome back to Death from Within with your host, X-Brad TC. Tonight we're making chicken Herbes de Provence based on a recipe given to us by the lovely and talented Miss Aggie Rican. Aggie Rican on Twitter. And KLRN Radio Network as well. Uh, First thing we're going to do, like most recipes, start out with a little bit of olive oil. Get yourself one of those little squeeze containers. You can get those things at the dollar store or at Amazon, what have you. A little bit of onion. We're going to saute the onion. We're looking at saute it, not caramelize it. We just want it to get nice and clear. So, yeah, slightly medium heat. And a little bit more olive oil because I like olive oil. I use a lot of olive oil. Olive oil is very handy. And plus, when you got it in that little squeeze bottle thingy, you look like you know what you're doing. A little bit more heat. We don't have all night to cook here. This is a very simple recipe. Uh, uh, we'll have the ingredients and Aggie's instructions for making this here in just a little bit. A lot of this stuff you can prepare the day before. You can dice it, chop up the onions before. You can get the chicken spiced up, coated, rubbed, whatever you want to call it. And basically, when you get home from work or whenever you want to start making dinner, just get everything, throw it in the pot together, and you're done. Now, I have thawed my chicken. I took it out of the freezer the day before, thawed it up. I'm going to put it in the bowl here. Come on, get out of there. There's one, there's two. The recipe calls for 6 boneless, skinless chicken thighs. We're going to go here today with 4 thighs bone in. And as you can tell, they have the skin because I like chicken skin. So my onions are still going along pretty well. While we're doing that, we're going to get a little olive oil on the chickens. Make sure it gets all over there. And the olive oil is there primarily to make sure that the herbs and spices stick to the chicken. And this is dirt simple. Salt. Plenty of salt. Salt is flavor. That's what we do. Lots of salt. Before you start complaining about my excess use of sodium, I just got my blood work back. Pepper. I've got a pepper grill. Pepper mill, excuse me. Use plenty of pepper on my chicken. Just got my blood work back from blood tests. I'm actually low on sodium and low on chloride, so I need to go back and actually give it a little bit more salt. Then the Herbes de Provence, which is where the recipe gets its name. If you've ever used Italian seasoning, this is very similar. Apparently, from what I've been told, the only difference is it doesn't have oregano. The other thing, this is a nice big jar of herbs. Usually when you go into the store and you look for these things, little tiny ounce and a half jars or whatever are expensive. This big old whopping thing cost me like $5.95. All right, give the onions a little bit of stir. You know what? You know what the onions need? A little more oil. Always need a little bit more oil because we like oil. And the other thing is garlic. We're going to use lots of garlic. We got the garlic prepped up a little bit earlier. We took the paper off and crushed them down a little bit, but we're going to throw the garlic in the press. And if you don't have a garlic press, just mince this stuff up, smash it with the flat of a knife edge, whatever. You can use store-bought minced garlic. You can use garlic powder if you have to. Just go ahead, get the garlic in there. And again, we're not looking to really cook it. We're looking, just a little bit of time on here and a little bit of heat to get the aroma of the garlic out. I think the instructions said until it was golden brown. You don't even have to do that. You just want to make sure you've got it heated up enough, get it pressed enough, crushed, minced, however you want to call it, enough so that we're releasing the aroma and the flavor of the garlic. So we can get some of that taste. And you're thinking, gosh, Art, that's a lot of garlic. No, there's never too much garlic. This is going to get diluted some. So don't worry about it. You're not going to have too much garlic. You're not going to have too much onion. It's not going to taste like onion. It's not going to taste like garlic. It's going to taste like chicken. Alrighty then. All that oil, the onion, that garlic goodness. Let's give that a little bit of a stir. Starting to see a little bit of the onions are actually getting a little brown. Don't want them brown. I want them clear. So I might probably ought to adjust the heat just a little bit. But we want to make sure the garlic is being heated up nicely. We want to get it mixed in thoroughly. We don't want one giant clump of garlic. We want to spread the joy around a little bit. Turn that down just a little bit. Put the lid back on there. We're dumping a little bit of liquid out. There's a little bit of water in the bottom of the bowl that we don't need. So we've got one side of the chicken has got salt, pepper, and herbs. So let's flip it over. And I'm sure you've guessed by now, we're going to go with salt, pepper. Okay, well, first we're going to rinse our hands off. But then we're going to go with, wait for it, salt. Once again, plenty of salt. And we want more than enough salt. You're thinking, wow, this is going to be way too salty. No, it's not. Trust me on this. It won't. Most of the salt's going to actually get rinsed off of it. All right, plenty of pepper. Once again, even though we've got the olive oil on there to keep it sticking to the chicken, it's not going to be too peppery. It's not going to be too salty. We're going to use a ton of Herbes de Provence, and it's not going to be too much. It's not going to be like eating a salad. Trust me. Would I inflict a salad on you? No. Alright, that looks pretty good. Now, we've got that all set up. Here's what we want to do. We want to get our chicken browned. We want to sear the chicken a little bit. Let's move that out of the way. Give me some place to put the lid down. Push the onions out of the way. Oh, look. Big shock there. Just a little bit more oil. Alright. And we're going to do both sides of the chicken. I just happen to start with it on the bottom side. Turn it up just a little bit. I want to get the onions because I don't want to caramelize the onions. I don't want them cooked to death. I'm going to try and get them stacked up on top of the chicken, get them off the direct heat for a little bit. Come on. And I went with the smaller of my little saucepan / Dutch ovens. So it's going to be a little crowded in there. Not bad. But, a little crowded for 4 pieces of chicken to all get browned nicely. So we got to work it a little bit to get all 4 in there. Get it nice and warm. We're done with the bowl, so we're going to go ahead and get an early jump on cleaning up as we go by rinsing that out. Alright, give that a couple of minutes. A little bit of wiping up because chicks dig a clean kitchen. The easiest way to keep the kitchen clean is to keep cleaning. It's always good to have a couple of handy rags. By the way, somewhere in there I flipped the chicken over. Aggie's recipe doesn't call for it, but I like to add a little bit of chopped up celery, a little bit of chopped up baby carrots. I think they give it a nice touch of color. And as I was saying, you can have that stuff chopped up, the day before. It's no big deal. Let that continue to sear, to brown the chicken a little bit. Have a little bit of cup of coffee there from our USS Texas Battleship 35 Watchstanders mug, which I bought while visiting the USS Texas. Alright, let's take a look, see how that chicken looks. Somewhere in there we flipped over while you weren't watching. Look at that. That is absolutely gorgeous. That lovely brown chicken. All right, the recipe calls for a can of chicken broth. I didn't have a can of chicken broth or chicken stock or what have you, the little Swanson can you're used to. What I do have is some powdered chicken bouillon, which mixed with some hot water gave me all the chicken broth I need. So we're going to add a little bit of that. I probably wouldn't make that a day before, but I made that about an hour before. And we're going to add just enough to get about halfway up the chicken thighs. Technically, I suppose you would call it braising. We're going to bring that all the way up to a boil, make sure everything's up to a boil. We're going to cover it, and we're going to turn it down all the way down to low. We're going to let it go for about 2 hours. And about 30 minutes before the chicken is ready, we're going to make some rice. Rice is very easy. 1 cup of rice, 2 cups of water. In this case, you can see me adding a little bit of chicken bouillon. I think it gives the rice a nice little bit of flavor. I got to clean the rice maker anyway. Might as well use it. If you don't have a rice maker, use a saucepan. That's a pot for you guys. Once again, cup of rice, 2 cups water, bring it to a boil, then let it simmer on low for 30 minutes. All right, the rice is on. The chicken, we're just waiting on the chicken to finish. Rather than making, since we're having a French style of chicken, I decided we're going to have some Oriental style peppers on the side. So frozen pepper strips, a little bit of olive oil in the bottom, and yeah, I dropped a little tiny piece of plastic in there and burned my finger getting it out of there. It's not the end of the world. All right. Frozen veggies, give them a little bit of time. Cover them up, let them get nice and hot. All right, we got the veggies nice and hot. They're beautiful. Look at that lovely color. So we're going to add, and we could just do this. It's just olive oil and pepper strips. We could have just salt and peppered that and gone with that, or even maybe just left it at that. But what we did, we add what's known as hoisin sauce, Hoisin. You can get it at just about any supermarket. It's going to be in the Asian section, or with the rest of your sauces and mixes. Get that all mixed in there. I think we kind of trimmed it out, but hoisin sauce is fairly tangy, so I also tend to use it. I'll cut in with a little bit of brown sugar, like maybe a tablespoon. So there's our rice. Came out looking nice. Plenty of rice, plenty of rice. And the chicken has been on there for 2 hours. We've already got it turned off. Let's go ahead and serve that up. With the handy dandy tongs, you'll notice we could use a ladle to put some of that juice, some of that au jus, if you will, on the rice. I just prefer not to today. I've done it. It's great. It's good stuff. But look at that chicken. It is absolutely gorgeous. It smells great. It's nice and hot. In fact, I burned my hand on the plate. Uh, get plenty of those beautiful, colorful peppers on there. So we got a starch, we got a veggie, and we got a protein. So we're good to go. And it looks nice. All right, it looks nice, but we got terrible lighting at the dinner table. Still, look at this. Skin comes right off. If you're not a fan of the skin, you could do that before or after, depending on cooking. Before or after cooking, depending on what you want to do. The chicken is tender, soft. It falls off the bone. It is nice and moist, juicy, wonderful. Look at that. Oh, and it tastes so good. That is a nice, balanced meal. Guys, chicks dig a guy that can cook. When your lady comes home from a hard day at the office, serve her that. Aggie Regan's recipes right here. Aggie's chicken Herbes de Provence. Simple chicken, broth, garlic, onion, herbs, salt and pepper. I mean, this is stupid easy. Any guy should be able to do this. The most complicated thing I had to do in all of this was chop the onion without losing a finger, or you know, most of a finger. All right, Dutch oven, saute onion. It's not a big deal. You should have, and if you don't have olive oil, use regular, vegetable oil. But guys, go get some olive oil. Chicken, salt, pepper. We already know you gotta spend the money to get some Herbes de Provence. Some spices are always good to have. And herbs are always good to have. All right, braise it in a Dutch oven, a pot, whatever. Couple hours, you're done. Guys, hope you enjoyed that. Go make that. Enjoy your meal. Enjoy your dinner. Thanks, guys.